It's time to talk fantasy football. It's time to let them know. Where you let us crunch the numbers while you crush the competition. So grab your playbooks and crack a cold one, because here's your hosts, Teak and Baney.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back. As you can see, Teak is out sick, so it's me and Baney again. The boys busted out of the prison. We're taking over again. So today we're going to go over all the Super Wildcard weekend games, choose our winners, comment, talk about those, and then since the fantasy season over, we're going to go on to some DFS lineups, values, targets, strategies, whatever it may be. Baney. It's playoffs. What do you think?
Yeah, somehow we both are still rooting for our teams.
Yeah.
I cannot believe it. Eagles have fully face planted into the playoffs, and Steelers seem to be hitting their stride, and then they lose T.J. Watt. So it's gonna be a little interesting playoff run we see here. I don't know whether to laugh or cry.
I'm in the same boat. I mean, no clue how I got there, but we did a lot of ups, downs, a lot of downs, and here we are. So let's good luck this weekend, and let's kick it off to talk about the matchups.
Absolutely.
So, Baney, first game Saturday, 4:30. We got Cleveland at Houston. Who's your pick?
I am taking the Browns. I know we've been praising CJ. We've been talking about him a whole bunch on the show. However, last time the Texans could not run the ball very well. And yeah, man, I don't think we'll get a replay of this Flacco experience that we saw and Cooper having 250 plus, but I think it's going to be the Browns. I think they'll get their one game in and give them something to cheer for the next 10 years, I think.
Nice. Well, hey, we're starting off with a screen divided, Baney. So I'm actually on the Houston Texans. And it's not just because I hate the Browns. So here's why. I mean, don't forget, Stroud wasn't there the first time they played in Houston. Also in that first matchup, Jonathan Greenard only played a portion of that game, and they didn't have Will Anderson. So I think Flacco's going to feel a little bit of pressure there. There's going to be more heat on Flacco, and I think it's going to be his little flopper game. I believe this Houston offense, too, can be explosive against the Browns. So the Browns defense on the road, actually, have given up almost 30 points a game since they got Flacco. So I don't know. I'm looking for a good game. I think there's going to be a lot of points, though, in this one. So
this is Flacco's season, though. He the postseason. He's been carried by a good defense into a Super Bowl before. I don't think that the Browns are going to do that this year, but yeah, I just think I'm going to trust what I'm seeing out of that Browns team. I know on the road they don't necessarily travel well, but also something to pay attention to. Cooper still not practicing. I don't know if that's strategy. I don't know if that heel is really a big problem. I'm not sure. I wouldn't blame you for taking Houston at plus, what are they, plus 125, I think?
yeah, the money line.
But yeah, we are definitely split on this. I think it'll be a great way to kick off the playoffs, though. Great game. Like you said, they've played already this year, so let's see what we can get into with that.
Yeah, who would have thought at the beginning of the season we'd be excited for this playoff game? But I'm really excited. So moving on to the night game, exclusively on Peacock. We're going Miami at the Kansas City Chiefs. Who you got in this one, Baney?
Hot take, man. I think this game's going to be a stinker, to be honest with you. And I am full board the Chiefs. I am riding the Chiefs. I think Miami went from probably one of the hottest teams in football to somebody I think are just really not that good right now. Injuries across the entire board defense for me is basically why I'm fully on the Chiefs. I think it's going to be an Isaiah Pacheco run fest, to be honest with you. No linebackers, no defensive line. Miami's just hurting right now.
Yeah, I agree. We're on the same page on this one. I mean, before I get to the injuries, anytime you got a South Florida team traveling to -2 degree weather, I mean, it's going to make you think about things a little bit. But yeah, I mean, Mahomes at home during the playoffs has a great track record. It's a shame Miami's defense is absolutely decimated. But yeah, I'm all Chiefs on this one. So glad we're on the same page there.
Yeah, I mean, Mostert, Waddle, stuff like that. I mean, I don't know, man. Tyreek's really battling that ankle. I just don't know if this is even going to be a good game, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it could be a little under on that one. But I believe Waddle and Mostert could play. I'm just worried about that defense. They even lost Van Ginkel now. I mean,
Foot injury, yeah.
yeah. So, what a shame. But moving on to the Sunday slate, 1 o'clock. Baney, we got Pittsburgh at Buffalo. What you got, Baney?
Um,
Do I need to ask?
I think we'll be divided again. No, I'm taking Buffalo. Buffalo's just so hot right now. 5-game winning streak. Josh Allen's got his cape on. Another game that's just going to be riddled with injuries. Gabe Davis, whether or not he's a big factor, I don't know, but that is a weapon on that offense. It's not probably going to be playing. It's a PCL sprain, I think. TJ Watt just going down is such a bummer, man. Whether you like the Steelers or not, you enjoy watching TJ Watt play. He's just one of those guys. MCL at possibly the worst time that you could imagine. He's a game wrecker. And especially, another cold weather, stinky game that could be very low scoring. This could be a turnover fest, and Pittsburgh could win 6-3. That's very possible. But I'm taking Buffalo. That's what I got going.
So I got to take Pittsburgh, just because, biased or not, I'm taking them. But yeah, TJ Watt, him being hurt, I mean, and it stinks too because it was with friendly fire. So his own teammate rolled up and hyperextended that knee. It looked gruesome. Glad it's a sprain. But yeah, like I said, I'm taking Pittsburgh. Hopefully they can step up. Pittsburgh record with and without TJ Watt is night and day. So I'm just going to leave it at this: playoffs where moments are made. Go Steelers.
I think that line too has just moved like crazy. I think it's nowhere near what it opened up as right now. I don't have it up in front of me, but it's moved quite a bit since it's open.
Yeah, it was +10 last time I checked. If it's double digits, I'm jumping on it. But moving on to the 4:30 game, we're going Green Bay at Baney's rival, Dallas Cowboys. Who you got, Baney?
Okay, here we go. It's man, I tell you what, if Dak and McCarthy don't get it done, this is going to be a disaster for this team in this season. I think you got to ride with the Cowboys. I think that secondary is very, very gettable in Green Bay. Some of the best passing games of the season have been put up against that defense. I think Dak is just going to throw the cover off this ball. I think CD is going to have a great game. However, we have seen some weird Packers-Cowboys games in the past. The Dez Bryant catch game to be one of them. Strange things can happen, but I know you love Jordan Love, that deep dive segment, but I don't think it's their year. I think this Cowboys defense is good enough. I think the offense is more than capable. Cowboys, lock it in.
Yeah, Love surprised a lot of people, but I got to go with Dallas as well. So, I mean, Green Bay got in, snuck in, squeezed in that last spot. So I'm going we them boys in this one. I mean, like you said, they're long overdue with that playoff run. I think they get this one at home. They're a different team. So, yeah, Baney, I'm on the same page with you. All Dallas Cowboys this one. Next one, probably the game I'm most excited about, other than Pittsburgh, of course. LA Rams at Detroit. Stafford going back to his old stomping grounds. Baney, who you got?
Oh, man, I am taking the Rams. They're plus money in this game. I don't really know how. I think that they should be the favorite, to be honest with you. I think this is It's going to be an awesome game. I hope it's a shootout. I really hope this is the best game of the weekend. That being said, I think Goff is going to have problems against McVay. I think that they're going to scheme up things that he's going to have a hard time with. All of their bad blood or whatever is pretty well documented over the last couple of years since the trade. And yeah, I just think I think the Rams offense is just humming. The Laporta injury is weighing heavy on my brain. But I think it just comes down to I really like Stafford and his weapons versus that Detroit Lions secondary. And yeah, I think if it comes out to a shootout, I think the Rams have more firepower. So I'm going Rams, and like I said, that's plus money. So
Yeah, I'm going the Rams as well. I'm taking Stafford, going back to those old stomping grounds. Also, I mean, the Rams, since the bye, what a turnaround. How hot was this team the second half of the season? I mean, that Rams offense is so balanced. They scored 26 points in the last 7 games at least. I'm just not confident in Detroit's streaky defense yet. So, and it looks like Lions are going to be without Laporta and possibly Khalif Raymond. Any reports on that? Did you hear?
I don't think that Laporta is going to go. I thought I saw it was an outside chance that he goes. I don't even think that is even remotely close. I don't think he's going at all. And Raymond's been a guy that's popped in and out of the questionable tag. Same with, I think Jamison Williams has a questionable tag as well. I just think that they're being cautious. I mean, Laporta being out is a huge blow to this offense. You got to keep everybody else as healthy as you can. That being said, Amon-Ra St. Brown dyed his hair baby blue for this matchup as well. I don't know if that helps or hurts their chances. Just, yeah, something I saw scrolling today, and I was like, that's different. That's odd. Whether or not that's going to show up on the stat sheet to be determined. But, yeah, man, I think this is going to be an awesome game. I really do. I think it's going to be the highlight of our weekend. So
yeah, I'm very, very excited for this one. So I might have to dye my hair that color too. I do like that blue.
I like that. Mikey boy, I parlayed all my picks: Browns, Chiefs, Bills, Cowboys, Rams, and our last one. Are we talking about the Monday game?
Yeah, we're gonna go with the Monday game.
Alrighty, I'm gonna throw it in there right now. The Bucks.
Taking the Bucks.
I have the Bucks.
His own Eagles,
and they are plus money. And the Eagles opened up at like 1.5 favorites. I think they're up to like 3 now. I'm not sure what that number is. I have no faith in this defense, man. I made some decent money this weekend stacking Giants, Tyrod Taylor, Barkley, Slayton in DFS lineups everywhere. Very profitable in team captain lineups. I will be doing the same with Baker, Evans, probably Rashad White as well. This team's just not going to get it together. I'm white flag, wave it. I hate to sound like a Debbie Downer, but man, just all-time blunder on this team. And yeah, I think what Baker's put together these last few weeks has been very, very capable. I know last week looked rough, but I think this Bucs offense can take the top off of this defense. And I parlayed all that together for almost plus 2,200. So
nice. Well,
you can throw a profit boost on that too, make it crazy valuable. But I just think there's some teams that should not be underdogs this week.
Yeah, good stuff. It sounds like some of that heat in Philly's locker room is spilling over to their fans. Just kidding, Baney. But I got to go opposite with you. I got to take the Eagles. So, I mean, it seems like we've been waiting, you being an Eagles fan, we've all been waiting for weeks for them to break out of whatever funk that they're in right now. It's got to happen. I think it's going to happen. What more to bring everyone together than a playoff game? I think they get it done this week, start to turn things around. I mean, don't forget, Baker got banged up last week. He was limping almost every play. So with that line, bring the heat on Baker, give him a couple shots. I think Philly can get it together and get it done.
A.J. Brown banged up, and I don't know if you saw Jalen Hurts' finger, but it looked like an accordion.
Oh, yeah, it was like...
they said there's no fractures in it. That's great news. There's a very specific name for what it is. I am not going to butcher it on camera. But yeah, it's vibes are at an all-time low, Mike. I'm not doing great. I don't know. It's just been
Hopefully you'll
bad.
get it. It will turn it around. I mean, Hurts, pop that back in, stick it in some ice. You're good to go. AJ, big blow. Julio Jones. We'll talk about him later. But now, yeah, that's the slate of the games on Super Wildcard weekend. Now we're going to jump into since the fantasy season's over, we're going to jump into some DFS, FanDuel, and DraftKings targets, prices, strategies. So I think we just get it kicked off. We'll go right to the QBs. So it's not necessarily a start and a sit. We're just going to talk values, start, sit, stay away. Baney, who you got for the quarterbacks here?
Yeah, so I'll just go back and forth. Like I'll just list both of mine off. But before we get into that, the FanDuel and DraftKings discrepancy on prices is something worth noting this week. For example, I'm not going to give this for every single one, but specifically Joe Flacco is $1,700 more on FanDuel than it is for DraftKings. So keep that in mind when you're trying to establish values in your own lineups. So me personally, I use DraftKings, and Badge is going to give you lineups based on FanDuel. So that being said, my QB that I like this week, Dak Prescott, priced at $7,600. He's had 11 multi-touchdown games this year, 10 games over 270. Packers defense has allowed NFC Player of the Week awards to Tommy DeVito, Bryce Young, and Baker Mayfield posted the first ever perfect passer rating for a quarterback in Lambeau. I also do like Baker at 5,800 on DraftKings, but I think Dak is a lock. And my QB I don't like this week is Jared Goff. I know we said that game's going to be a shootout. However, I'm worried about turnovers. I'm worried about him facing McVay with scheme and familiarity to his game. Laporta injury, don't like that either. And I think that Detroit's path to success is going to be through their running backs. Montgomery and Gibbs specifically, I think, might have a bigger game. And yeah, I'm worried about Goff, $6,200. I just think you could find value elsewhere. So those are my two quarterbacks, Badge.
Yeah, no, good stuff. Good input on the DraftKings there. I'm going over to FanDuel. I just have two QBs that I'm eyeing. No one that I'm staying away from that I'm going to mention yet. Someone I'm eyeing, how can you not with his price on FanDuel? That's Baker Mayfield. Only thing that worries me is, like I said, he was limping off the field almost every play going back to the sideline. However, don't forget the Eagles just got torched by Tyrod Taylor and the Giants. So Baker's been having a good season, him and Evans. No way Baker's going to miss. He's too competitive. So I know he's going to be in there. He's going to bring that fire. He's going to be cheap. The Eagles defense have been giving up 24 fantasy points to opposing quarterbacks. So I might even pair him with Evans. Again, we'll talk about that when we get to the wide receivers. Another target quarterback that I'm eyeing as well is Matt Stafford, going back to Detroit. So Detroit's defense is giving up 20 fantasy points to quarterbacks. Stafford's been one of the hottest quarterbacks in the league this second half of the season. So I'm eyeing him as well. So,
yeah, dude, Baker played through a torn labrum, played through like a broken bone in his shoulder, sprained ankles with Cleveland, man. He's not missing this game. And this secondary is very gettable. I love that pick with Baker. It's really going to help you build a deep roster. So, yeah, I 5,800 on DraftKings. I don't know what he is specifically on FanDuel, but that's just a great play. Like I said, I stacked Tyrod last week against Philly. It's just a great play overall, to be honest with you. So,
yeah, great value, and you can stack that lineup. I mean, I think Baker's one of the cheaper quarterbacks, so he can put up some points. So, Baney, who do you got as your running backs?
Well, I personally think that probably everybody is probably going to have high draft exposure to Kyren Williams, so I'm not putting him on here, but let's be honest, he's probably going to have a blow-up week. But my absolute is Isaiah Pacheco, $6,400. I think there's a lot of great running back matchups, but the injuries across the board on the front seven for Miami, it's brutal weather in Kansas City. We've talked about all these points. I just think it's going to be a run fest for Kansas City. You're not going to have to rely on Kadarius Toney catching slants. You're not going to have to rely on Valdez-Scantling dropping, 60-yard bombs. I think it's just going to be handed off to Pacheco, give some dump offs to Kelsey. I think Pacheco's just going to have a great game. That being said, I could also see Rico Dowdle having some really good benefits at 4,600. I could see them just really pounding the rock against Green Bay, to be honest with you, especially if they're up. He's been taking snaps away from Pollard, but 4,600, if you're trying to stock up on wide receivers that are expensive, maybe Dowdle helps you out there. But one I'm avoiding is Singletary, Devin Singletary, 5,700. I love the price. I just don't love the matchup. We've been fading running backs against Cleveland's defense all year. Last time they played Cleveland specifically, he had 44 rushing yards, 3 catches, 19 yards, total of 9 fantasy points. Really doesn't help us out here. And I just think it's going to be a CJ Stroud game. If they win that game, it's going to be on his shoulders. It's not going to be on the running backs. So I think that helps you kind of save on value. I don't think that he's going to help you out that much.
Yeah, some very valid points there, especially in the Kansas City -2-degree weather. They're probably going to pound the rock, so he's going to get a lot of volume. So a running back that I'm targeting in FanDuel, that's going to be Tony Pollard at home against the Packers. Packers defense has been giving up 16 points average to running backs. Pollard getting involved in the passing game as well, so get some receptions there, maybe a little squeak out a little tutty. So I'm taking Pollard. Running back, I do have a running back I'm going to avoid. You mentioned him. Here's why his matchup. I'm going to avoid Kyren Williams just based on his price. So very expensive on FanDuel. He's going against Detroit's very stingy run defense. They're only allowing 10 points to running backs. I think Stafford's going to be slinging the rock. I'm going to spend that money elsewhere on Williams and find some better value elsewhere. Like I said, for that matchup, I just feel it's a little too expensive. He might have a blow-up game, though, but who knows? Again, I'm just got to find that value, and I think he's overpriced. So any comments before we jump into the wideouts?
Yeah, I have 2 lineups specifically that I have Kyren Williams in, and I'm telling you what, it's simply because of my wide receiver right here. Demarcus Robinson priced at $3,600 on DraftKings. That allows you the room roster-wise to really stack these talented players in here. I get it. The price for Kyren Williams is a premium. He's a player that I think is worth putting in at that premium, but it depends on how you value your roster builds specifically. You do very well, so obviously you've done your research. I don't blame you at all. But yeah, I just think Demarcus Robinson, I don't think his price is adjusted at his player value. His last 5 games, he's averaged almost 15 fantasy points per game, 4 touchdowns in those games, 34 targets, solidified himself as the wide receiver 3 in that offense. If we're hoping for a shootout like we think, his targets are going to be there. I would like to assume he has that role in the red zone. But Demarcus Robinson, great value when you're building out a roster, allows you to afford those premium guys. And at $3,600, it's a shot in the dark. If it performs well, you're probably getting a guy with 3%, 4% draft exposure. Guy I'm staying away from is Jalen Waddle. $6,500. He's in and out of what seems like every single game this year. He has 1 catch, 50 yards. He hasn't played, the next 8-10 series. I just can't spend $6,500 on a guy that I can't bank on playing in the game. It's a very cold game there. I see this game going through the running backs. Miami has proven they can't play well in conditions, and they don't play really well against good teams. But yeah, last time they played Kansas City, 6 targets, 3 catches, 42 yards. Tyreek Hill's revenge game, maybe. Target share, hog. I mean, he's got like 26 targets the last 2 games. I don't know, man. Jalen Waddle's been a fade for me all year. And if I'm pricing out a roster when I can get guys like Jaden Reed this week or, even Demarcus Robinson, I'm going to shoot that shot 10 times out of 10. Jalen Waddle's too pricey for me.
Yeah, especially I think I'm going to stay away from all Miami receivers, including Tyreek. I think a lot of people might buy him, though, just looking towards that narrative going back to Arrowhead. I don't know if I can do that, though. So just based on the value that it is to get him. But who do you got we're on the wide receivers, or you already brought yours in? So my wide receiver.
Yeah, yours. Yep.
Okay. So one wide receiver that I'm targeting, monster year, could be offensive rookie of the year, and that's Puka. So I might pair him with Stafford in Detroit. going back to his stomping grounds, I see him getting a lot of action. What a talent he is. What a find. So Puka, one to target. Little value. So my next one, little value here. With A.J. Brown, you said he's going to be most likely out.
I just haven't seen anything about it.
Yeah,
So
same. So if he's out, you can get Julio Jones at a screaming deal. So I'm eyeing him, eyeing A.J. Brown's status all week. Tampa's secondary, that defense has been giving up 20 points average to wide receivers. So that could be cheap, and then you could stack it elsewhere. So keep an eye on a little Julio action there. That's where I'm going with it.
yeah, I mean, I would hate to advise anybody to play Quez Watkins or Olamide Zaccheaus. So, yeah, Julio, I mean, we saw that 2-touchdown performance the other day. They like to use him in the red zone. I very well did not expect to be cheering for Julio Jones at age 75, but here we are. That's what this season's brought us. So.
Is that young? I thought he was older.
Oh man. Rolling into tight end. I absolutely love this play this week. Another player that price is not adjusted. David Njoku. $5,600 on DraftKings. With Laporta not playing, he's the second highest priced tight end. He would be the third highest if Laporta was playing, but I think he should be worth more, to be honest with you. Since the Flacco takeover, 30 catches, 390 yards, 4 touchdowns. That's 37% of his catches on the season, 44% of his yards on the season, and 66% of his touchdowns. He is locked in with Joe Flacco. Just great value. He had 16 points last time they played Houston. We talked about Cooper still not practicing with this heel injury. If Cooper doesn't go, this is an absolute play. But that being said, I fully expect Cooper to play, and I'm still fired up in Njoku. But just something to pay attention to. $5,600, man. That's great. One I'm staying away from is Travis Kelce. $6,100. He's the highest priced tight end, and I just don't think he's warranted that price over the last 4 weeks. Been one of the least productive tight ends, I would say, the last 4 weeks specifically. And I think it's going to be a run-heavy game. I really do. There's not a lot of room to roster build if you're putting this guy in at tight end specifically. Something to keep an eye on is the injury situations in Detroit and the Rams specifically. Higbee is logging DNPs, Laporta obviously, but the backup to Laporta is also logging DNPs. So you might be able to get a low-budget tight end in the 2000s range on DraftKings. If that's a position you're choosing to punt because you want to stack up on these premiums at running back or wide receiver, if that's a shootout game like we think it is, you might get a few red zone targets, and at $2,000, there's value to be gained there. So just something to think about. Pay attention to the injury reports as the weeks get closer. Still a few days away. We're recording on Tuesday, so I'm sure more info will come out. But I really like these plays, staying away from Kelce, firing up Njoku. And then, like I said, I'm going to be paying attention to maybe the Rams tight end specifically.
Yeah, and Njoku, I'm glad you mentioned him. I'm targeting him as well. I ride in Flacco's hot hand, his favorite target in Houston. Something, though, we disagree on. I might be willing to pay for Kelce. So just because that Finns defense is just absolutely decimated. I could see some dump offs, quick passes over the middle, getting back to how they used to do things. As you know, I'm sure you watch too. I watch every Dolphins game, unfortunately. But Kincaid and Knox, they had some huge chunk plays against that decimated defense. So I might be willing to pay for Kelce this week. I know the cold, but those guys are used to it up there in Arrowhead. So something to think about. I know he's a big chunk of change, but might be worth it. My opinion. Baney's against it. So that's what we're here for. You get both takes. So
I think it might be very stressful trying to put a team captain lineup together for this Rams-Lions game. I think it's going to be a late evening grinding numbers for that one. But what do you got for tight end specifically?
So my tight end, I got Njoku, and then I touched on the Kelce.
No fades. You don't got anybody you don't like at tight end this week?
I was just looking at the good matchups.
Said, I'm looking at the money.
Just looking at the money
Dude.
when you're building these lineups. Um, someone to fade. I don't know. You gave the fades. Who you fading?
It's mostly Kelsey for me. Like I just cannot wrap my head around it. I just really see it being a running game, and I can't get my head out of that. Like I get what you're saying. I see it how you're seeing it, but I just really think these last 4 weeks he has just not looked good. Looked very slow. That price point just really worries me. I don't really love Dalton Schultz, to be honest with you, this week. But especially I don't know, man. Your boy Nico Collins, he is a target
Oh yeah.
monster, dude. Opening of the game like that was crazy this
Oh
week.
yeah. Another thing too, I have written down. We didn't talk about it in the wide receivers. You mentioned Nico Collins. In fantasy, we want points. The Browns rode in overs. They're 8-0 against the over. Nico, get a little Nico action in that lineup.
There you go. What's your wild card play this weekend? Like, what's your favorite player that you have going across the entire slate, across everything? Could be a team captain spot, could be just an overall lineup play. Who do you really like the most this week? I got one that I think is going to blow your mind.
Who do I really like? I like anyone on the Rams right now. Mainly Puka. So I think he's gonna have a monster game.
I have some Najee Harris shares this week.
Okay. He's been hot. He's been running.
Dude.
He's finally stopped dancing. He's running straight up the middle, getting yards after contact. So
They're finally figuring out how to go north and south, man. They were trying to use space, and he's just not the guy that needs to be in space. He needs to be running straight through your A gap. And yeah, man, these last couple of weeks have been really impressive. But I'm firing up Jaden Reed versus this Dallas defense. I just think that they're going to be in a negative game script, and Jaden Reed is just going to have to be peppered with targets this week. That's really it. I think I don't know. My favorite lineup I have going, I have Stafford, Williams, Dowdle, Lamb, St. Brown, Pickens. I have Allen for the Rams. That's the backup Rams tight end I have in that lineup. And then I have Demarcus Robinson, the Rams defense. I'm banking on Higbee not playing. I think that there's some value in that lineup, but yeah, man, I'm excited for this weekend. I'm excited for this weekend. I'm not excited for Monday. I am so tired of the Eagles in prime time. I wish it was just buried in this slate somewhere, but here we go. Monday night game, and maybe I'll cry on your shoulder. Maybe I'll be over.
Hey, my shoulder's always open, so you got my left one. So
that's
you got
fine.
my left one.
Hey, but hats off to you and Teak last week, man. I had major FOMO scheduling conflict. I wasn't able to make it for that interview, but I watched it as a fan. I loved it. You guys absolutely crushed it. He was super cool. Hopefully that opens up a door, another avenue, and we can have more interviews like that. Thanks to everybody that watched it. It was our highest viewed episode to date for the show. A lot of new subscribers that came in from it. If this is your first time watching us since then, thank you guys. We have a ton of fantasy content, sits and starts, betting shows every week. And then now we're getting into draft stuff, draft season stuff. We had a lot of fun doing it last summer. We had a lot of great interviews, and fantasy experts everywhere. So thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you, Badge, for, doing the hosting duties this week. It's always a big deal when Teek's not here because he carries a lot of this load. So
yeah, I tried my best, Teak. I wasn't as good as you. We miss you. Get well soon. Get some soup, and then Baney, send us away.
Yeah, guys. Subscribe, do all that fun stuff. If you're looking for a new way to play fantasy football, check us out. Use promo code LetThem on Underdog Fantasy. That is a promo code that matches your deposit, $10 up to $100. That's free money. That is absolutely free. So, like I said, please subscribe. That does wonders for us. Lets us get new guests. Just a lot more on the horizon from the boys. So even though fantasy season's over, we're still going to keep pumping out content for the playoffs. New stuff every week, probably from this point moving forward. So from Teak, Badge, I'm Baney. Appreciate everything. Enjoy your playoff weekend. Hopefully make some money in the process. So thank you guys.
Thank you for listening
fun
to
year.
another episode of
It's
the
been a blast.
Let 'em
Went by
Know
way too
Fantasy
fast, man.
Football Podcast. Join our community and follow us on all socials, or keep up with the episodes on YouTube, Spotify, or Apple Podcasts.